The champagne glass felt cold in my hand. Around me, voices rose in celebration. Laughter, congratulations, the clink of crystal. My parents' mountain house glowed with warm light. Every face turned toward my wife. Talia raised her glass higher, her smile brilliant. "I'm pregnant," she announced. The room erupted. My mother gasped. My father clapped. Friends surged forward, embracing Talia, shaking hands. I stood perfectly still. Something in my chest had turned to stone hours ago. I'd learned to wear the mask well. Inside, I was calculating, observing, waiting. Then Colby stepped forward. My younger brother moved with that familiar swagger. At 35, he still carried himself like a high school quarterback. His suit was expensive, probably purchased with family money. His grin was predatory. "Congratulations, brother," he said. I met his eyes. Dark brown, same as mine, same jawline. But where I'd spent 20 years building something real, Colby had drifted from scheme to scheme. "Taking your wife was a bonus," Colby said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "But the real thrill? Watching you fail again, like when we were kids and I took your bike. Some people are destined to stay behind." Before we go any further, take a second to subscribe, hit the hype button, and like the video. It really helps the channel grow. And tell us in the comments, what would you do in this situation? The silence was absolute. Talia's face went pale. My mother made a choked sound. Colby's grin faltered. He glanced at Talia, confusion dawning. I raised my glass slowly. "Oh," I said calmly. "You didn't hear the latest news?" Colby's face drained of color. "The baby. It's not mine." The glass slipped from Talia's hand, shattering. "It's yours, little brother." Colby dropped to his knees. 12 hours earlier, Ruth Humphreys had told me the truth. "Your wife's car has been in the Cascade Hotel parking lot every Tuesday and Thursday for 6 weeks." I'd gone home that night and checked Talia's laptop. Password, my birthday. The secondary email account was easy to find. The messages painted a clear picture. Colby, my brother, hotel reservations, deleted photos, plans for their future, complaints about me, boring, predictable, too focused on work. Then, 3 days ago, "I'm late. I think I might be pregnant." His response, "Don't worry, babe. We'll figure it out. This could be our chance." Her response, "But Wes," his response, "We'll never know. Let him think it's his. Buy us time." I'd sat in my home office and felt something shift inside me. Not rage, something colder. The feeling I got when approaching a complex design problem. Understanding every connection, every leverage point. I closed the laptop and began to plan. Now, at my parents' house, my mother stepped away from Talia, horrified. "Tell me this isn't true," she whispered. "How long?" My father's voice cut like a blade. 6 months, I said. "The affair? The pregnancy is 8 weeks along." Talia found her voice. "You had no right." "Save it," Ruth said from across the room. My father turned to Colby. "Get up." Colby rose shakily. "You seduced your brother's wife, got her pregnant. We're going to let Wes raise your child as his own." We didn't plan." "Every choice has a consequence," my father said, "and you're about to learn how expensive yours have been." He turned to my mother. "Marlene, get the documents." She returned with a leather folder. "As of this moment," my father said, "you are removed from the family business fund. Housing support? Gone. Development account? Frozen. Future inheritance advances? Suspended indefinitely." Colby's face went ashen. "You can't—" "I can? I am? You want to play at being a man? You'll do it without our support." Talia stepped forward, chin high. "This is ridiculous. Wes was never present, always working. Colby showed me what real passion looks like." I smiled slightly. "You're right. I was focused on building something real, while you focused on hotel rooms and secret texts with a man who's never held a job for more than 18 months. Colby's hands clenched. "I've had plenty of jobs." "Name one you didn't quit or get fired from." Silence. Colby moved fast, grabbing my collar. "You smug." "Go ahead," I said quietly. "Show everyone what kind of man you are." He shoved me. I stumbled back but kept my feet. Colby swung. The strike caught my jaw. I tasted copper. The room erupted in shouts. I straightened slowly and wiped the corner of my mouth. "Feel better?" I asked. Colby was breathing hard. "You have no idea what it's like living in your shadow." "I worked for what I have." "You played it safe." "No, I built something, brick by brick, while you bounced from dream to dream, waiting for success to land in your lap." I leaned close. Enjoy the peak, brother. Every peak ends with a fall. I turned to my parents. I'm leaving. I walked out into the cool Colorado night with a plan in my mind and no doubt about what came next. The drive back took 90 minutes. The house felt hollow when I entered. I went straight to my office and opened my laptop. First, documentation, everything backed up to encrypted cloud accounts for legal purposes. Second, finances. I separated my assets from Talia's in a detailed spreadsheet. Third, Colby. I accessed the financial software I'd helped my father set up. There it was, every transaction Colby had made from the business fund, $83,000. Ride shares to nightclubs, bar tabs, expensive dinners, hotel rooms, including the Cascade, networking events at 11 p.m. on Saturdays, equipment for businesses that never materialized. I compiled it into a professional report and sent it to my father. Fourth, Talia's career. She worked as senior finance administrator for Denver City Public Works. She'd forwarded internal budget documents to her secondary email, documents with preliminary cost estimates for projects not yet public, information valuable to contractors. I drafted a factual report and composed an email to the city's compliance office. 3 pressure points. 3 systems about to cascade into failure. My phone buzzed. Talia. We need to talk, I typed. Tomorrow, my lawyer's office, 2 p.m. Her response. Wes, please, I know you're angry, but I turned the phone off. At 5:30 a.m., I ran 6 miles. By 7 a.m., I was at Verdantscape International. Ruth arrived at 7:30. You're here. Where else would I be? She set coffee on my desk. How bad was it after you left? About what you'd expect. Your brother's a piece of work? He's scared. That's what last night was. Fear disguised as aggression. And Talia? She thinks she can talk her way out of consequences. At 9 a.m., I called Marcus Reeves, my lawyer. Can you fit in a meeting today? 2 p.m.? I'll make it work. At 10 a.m., I sent the compliance report to the city. At 11 a.m., my father called. Your brother came by demanding we reconsider. And? I told him his access to family resources is suspended. How did he take it? Not well. I also received your report on the business fund expenditures. It's exactly what I suspected. We talked briefly, then hung up. I sat staring at blueprints, the carefully planned systems, the way everything connected. Then I went back to work. The drive back to Denver took 90 minutes. I spent it in silence, the highway unwinding before me in the darkness, my mind already 3 steps ahead. The house in the Highlands felt different when I walked through the door. Same furniture, same artwork. But the space felt hollow now, like a stage set after the actors have gone home. I went straight to my office and opened my laptop. First, documentation. Everything I'd found in Talia's emails, backed up to 3 separate encrypted cloud accounts, screenshots, downloaded files, a complete timeline of the affair, for legal purposes. Second, finances. I pulled up our joint accounts, our mortgage documents, the investment portfolios we'd built together, separated my assets from hers in a detailed spreadsheet, identified what was mine, what was hers, what was community property. Third, Colby. My brother had always been terrible with money. Growing up, he'd blown through his allowance by Wednesday. In high school, he'd crashed 2 cars. In college, the 1 semester he'd lasted, he'd racked up credit card debt that our parents had quietly paid off. The business fund our parents had mentioned, I knew exactly how much was in it because Dad had asked my advice on the structure 3 years ago. $83,000, meant to be used for legitimate business development. I pulled up the financial software I'd helped my father set up, logged in using the admin access he'd given me, and there it was. A detailed record of every withdrawal, every expense, every transaction Colby had made. Ride shares to nightclubs, bar tabs, expensive dinners, concert tickets, hotel rooms, including the Cascade Hotel. Networking events that happened at 11 p.m. on Saturday nights. Equipment purchases for businesses that never materialized. Not illegal, exactly, but not what the fund was intended for. I compiled everything into a clean, professional report. Then I sent it to my father with a simple subject line. For your review. Fourth, Talia's career. My wife, soon-to-be ex-wife, worked as a senior finance administrator for Denver City Public Works. It was a good job, steady, respectable. It required security clearance and careful handling of sensitive information. 3 months ago, she'd mentioned something in passing. A colleague had been reprimanded for sharing restricted project data with a private contractor. Minor violation, but the city had taken it seriously. I pulled up the projects Talia had worked on in the past year, cross-referenced them with her calendar, her emails, and found exactly what I was looking for. She'd forwarded internal budget documents to an outside email address, her secondary account, the one she used for the affair. She'd probably done it to access files from home, never thinking about the security implications. Those documents had included preliminary cost estimates for projects that hadn't been publicly announced yet, information that could be valuable to contractors looking to submit competitive bids. I drafted a detailed, factual report, attached relevant screenshots, composed an email to the city's internal compliance office. Then I sat back and looked at what I'd built. 3 pressure points, 3 systems about to cascade into failure. My phone buzzed. Talia. "We need to talk." I typed back, "Tomorrow, my lawyer's office, 2 p.m. I'll send the address." Her response came fast. "Wes, please. I know you're angry, but..." I turned the phone off. Sleep didn't come easy, but it came. I woke at 5:30 a.m., same as always. Ran 6 miles through the quiet streets, pushing my body hard. Showered. Dressed in one of my good suits, the charcoal gray one I wore to important presentations. By 7 a.m., I was at Verdantscape International. The office was still mostly empty. Ruth arrived at 7:30 and found me at my desk, working through the Riverside project details. "You're here," she said. "Where else would I be?" She set a cup of coffee on my desk, black, no sugar. "How bad was it after you left?" "About what you'd expect. Your brother's a piece of work. He's scared." I took a sip of the coffee. That's what last night was. Fear disguised as aggression. "And Talia?" "She still thinks she can talk her way out of consequences." Ruth settled into the chair across from my desk. "So what now?" "Now I work. I have a presentation in 3 weeks that represents 3 years of effort and $28 million in city funding. None of this changes that." "All right, but if you need anything..." "I know, thank you." She left, and I returned to the blueprints. Work. Real work. Problems with solutions. My phone showed 17 missed calls from Talia and 6 from Colby. 3 texts from my mother. 1 from my father. Reviewed the report. "We need to talk soon." I responded to my father. "Anytime." Then I blocked Colby's number and muted Talia's. At 9 a.m., I called the lawyer I'd consulted earlier in the week, Marcus Reeves, a family law specialist with 23 years of experience. "Mr. Farrow," he answered, "I was expecting your call. Can you fit in a meeting today? 2 p.m.? I'll make it work. Bring all documentation." "Already compiled." "Good. We'll start the paperwork immediately." At 10 a.m., I sent the compliance report to the city. Professional, factual, no emotion, just dates, documents, and clear policy violations. At 11 a.m., my father called. "Your brother came by the house this morning," he said without preamble, demanding we reconsider. "And?" I told him exactly what I told him last night. His access to family resources is suspended. "How did he take it?" "Not well. A lot of shouting about fairness and second chances. Your mother is upset. Not with our decision. With him?" "I'm sorry this is affecting you both." "Don't be. We raised 2 sons. One became a man. The other is still figuring out what that means." He paused. "I also received your report on the business fund expenditures." "And?" "It's exactly what I suspected but didn't want to admit. He's been treating it like a personal entertainment account." "Are you going to pursue recovery?" "I'm considering options. But first, I want to see if he can learn the lesson." We talked for a few more minutes, then hung up. I sat there for a moment, staring at the blueprints, the carefully planned systems, the way everything connected. Then I went back to work. The meeting with Marcus Reeves went exactly as expected. 2 hours of clinical discussion about asset division, custody implications for a child that wasn't mine, spousal support considerations, and the timeline for filing. Talia arrived 30 minutes late, flustered and defensive. She'd brought her own lawyer, a young woman named Jennifer who looked fresh out of law school. "This is premature," Talia said before even sitting down. "We haven't even tried counseling." I looked at her directly. She'd dressed carefully, professional but softened, makeup subtle. The outfit designed to project reasonable, rational, willing to work on things. "You're pregnant with my brother's child," I said calmly. "What exactly would counseling accomplish?" "It was a mistake, a moment of weakness. We can work through this." Marcus cleared his throat. "Mrs. Farrow, the documentation we have suggests the affair lasted approximately 6 months. Multiple hotel encounters, extensive communication. This wasn't a momentary lapse in judgment." Jennifer leaned forward. "That documentation was obtained through unauthorized access. Obtained through a shared laptop in a marital home, Marcus interrupted smoothly. Using a password that Mrs. Farrow had voluntarily shared with Mr. Farrow years ago. No hacking, no illegal access. Talia's jaw tightened. Wes, please. We built a life together. 8 years. That has to count for something. It does count, I said. It counts in the property division. We'll divide everything fairly. You'll get exactly what you're entitled to under Colorado law. I don't want a division. I want our marriage. You should have thought about that before sleeping with Colby. Her face flushed. You were never home. Always at the office, always on some project. I was lonely. Then you should have told me, or left me, not cheated and lied. We spent another hour hammering out preliminaries. Talia agreed to move out within 2 weeks. I agreed to maintain the mortgage payments during the separation period. We divided the bank accounts 50-50 as a temporary measure. Jennifer tried to negotiate spousal support. Marcus shut it down with a detailed accounting of Talia's salary and earning potential. Your client makes $87,000 a year in a stable government position, Marcus said. She doesn't need support. She's pregnant, Jennifer countered, with another man's child. That's not Mr. Farrow's responsibility. Talia stood abruptly. This is insane. I made a mistake, yes, but you're acting like I'm some monster. I stood as well, gathering my papers. I've made plenty of mistakes, but I never betrayed someone who trusted me. There's a difference. You're enjoying this, punishing me. No, I said honestly. I'm not enjoying anything. I'm just doing what needs to be done. I left the office with Marcus. On the street outside, Marcus clapped me on the shoulder. That was harder than I expected. She really thought you'd forgive her. She's used to getting her way. Well, she won't with this. We'll file tomorrow. I drove back to Verdantscape and returned to work. My phone buzzed 2 hours later. Unknown number. Hello? Wes? Colby's voice. Don't hang up. How did you get this number? Borrowed a friend's phone. Listen, we need to talk. Man to man. I have nothing to say to you. 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking. There's a coffee shop on Colfax near the old theater. Meet me there in an hour. Why would I do that? Because whatever you're planning, it's not going to make you feel better. I should have said no. Instead, I said, 1 hour. If you're not there when I arrive, I'm leaving immediately. I'll be there. The coffee shop was called The Grind. Colby was already there, sitting in the back corner, looking diminished somehow, smaller than he'd seemed at the mountain house. I bought a coffee I didn't want and sat across from him. Thanks for coming, he said. I didn't respond, just waited. Look, Colby said, I know there's nothing I can say that makes this okay. I know I screwed up. That's one way to put it. But I need you to understand something. This wasn't about hurting you. Then what was it about? He stared into his coffee. You ever feel like you're living in someone else's shadow? That's what this was? Insecurity? I'm not making excuses. I'm trying to explain. You slept with my wife, Colby. That's not complicated. It's betrayal. I know. And now she's pregnant with your child. You're going to be a father, whether you're ready or not. His face went pale. I'm not ready. Neither was I when Talia told me, but I was prepared to step up, because that's what adults do. I'm not you, Colby said quietly. No, you're not. We sat in silence for a minute. Dad cut me off, Colby said finally. The business fund, everything. I know. Did you tell him to do that? No. I showed him how you'd been spending the money. He made his own decision. You're sabotaging me. I'm holding you accountable. There's a difference. I had plans, real plans this time. A gym, high-end fitness concept with a rooftop bar. I had investors lined up. With whose money? He didn't answer. That's what I thought. You were going to use family resources to fund another dream that would fail in 18 months. You don't know that. I know your track record. 3 businesses in 7 years. All failed. Colby's hands clenched into fists. You think you're so much better than me. I think I work harder than you, and I face consequences instead of running from them. I'm not running. Really? Because it looks like you're sitting here trying to convince me to go easy on you. He stood abruptly. I came here to apologize, but you're not interested in that. You just want to watch me suffer. I want you to grow up, I said. Take responsibility for what you did. Stop waiting for someone else to save you. And if I can't, then you'll fail, and that's on you. He stared at me for a long moment, something like desperation in his eyes. Then he turned and walked out. My phone buzzed. Email notification. Subject line. Compliance review initiated. Case 8. 2847. Denver City Public Works had received my report. I finished the coffee and drove back to work. 2 weeks passed like falling dominoes. Each day brought new consequences, new realizations for both Talia and Colby that their world was unraveling faster than they could comprehend. The Riverside Eco Park presentation consumed my days. Ruth and I worked late most nights, fine-tuning every detail. The project was solid. 3 years of careful planning, sustainable design, community impact. Nothing about my personal life would compromise what we'd built. Marcus called regularly with updates. The separation paperwork was filed. Talia had moved out, taking only what was clearly hers. She'd found a small apartment in Capitol Hill, far from the life we'd built together. Jennifer, her lawyer, had stopped trying to negotiate favorable terms once the compliance investigation became official. The city's review of Talia's work conduct had expanded beyond my initial report. Internal audit had discovered she'd shared restricted information not just with her personal email, but directly with Colby. Budget projections for municipal construction projects, contractor lists, timeline estimates. All forwarded to my brother, who'd apparently been using the information to pitch his gym concept to potential investors, claiming insider knowledge of upcoming city development in certain neighborhoods. It was worse than careless. It was potentially criminal. Talia was suspended without pay pending the investigation's conclusion. Her professional reputation, the thing she'd built over 12 years in city government, was crumbling. The same colleagues who'd celebrated her pregnancy announcement now avoided her in hallways and parking lots. Colby's situation deteriorated even faster. Without the family business fund, he had no capital. The investors he'd been courting disappeared once they learned his insider information was obtained through questionable means. The gym project collapsed entirely when city zoning officials, alerted by an anonymous tip that may or may not have come from someone who understood municipal systems very well, discovered multiple permit violations in his proposed location. My father, true to his word, had initiated a full audit of the business fund expenditures. The results were damning. $83,000 gone. Not invested, not saved, spent on maintaining an illusion of success while building nothing real. I received updates through my mother, who called every few days. She was heartbroken but resolute. He made his choices, she said. Now he has to live with them. Colby had tried to contact me 17 times in those 2 weeks. Calls from different numbers, texts from borrowed phones, even an email to my work account that IT flagged as potential harassment. I ignored them all. My focus remained on work. The city council presentation was in 5 days. Everything else was noise. On Thursday afternoon, 3 days before the presentation, Ruth knocked on my office door. "You have a visitor," she said, her expression tight. "I'm not taking meetings today." "It's your brother. He's in the lobby. Security won't let him up without clearance, but he says he'll wait all day if necessary." I closed the file I'd been reviewing. "Tell security to escort him out." "Wes, I mean it. I have nothing to say to him." Ruth nodded and left. Through my office window, I watched her speak into her phone. 5 minutes later, she returned. "He's gone, but he left something at the front desk." She handed me a manila envelope. Inside was a single sheet of paper. Colby's handwriting, messy and rushed. "I'm losing everything. Talia won't return my calls. She's talking about putting the baby up for adoption. Dad won't speak to me. Mom cries every time she sees me. I know I don't deserve your help. I know what I did was unforgivable. But I'm begging you. Please, I can't do this alone." I read it twice. Then I folded it carefully and placed it in my desk drawer. "What did it say?" Ruth asked. "Nothing that changes anything." She studied me for a long moment. "You're really going to let him crash and burn completely, aren't you?" "I'm not letting him do anything. He's doing it to himself." "Wes, I know what he did was terrible, but he's still your brother. He stopped being my brother when he slept with my wife. Now he's just a man facing consequences for his actions." Ruth sighed. "I hope you're right about this. I hope this is justice and not just revenge." "So do I." She left, and I returned to work. But her words lingered. Justice and revenge. The line between them had seemed so clear at the beginning. Now, watching everything collapse around Colby and Talia, I wondered if I'd crossed it without noticing. My phone rang. Marcus. "We have a development," he said. "Talia's lawyer contacted me. She wants to expedite the separation. Full agreement to all terms. No spousal support. Clean split." "Why the sudden cooperation?" "I think the reality of her situation is setting in. She's suspended from work. She's pregnant with a child your brother apparently doesn't want. She's facing potential criminal charges for the information breach. She wants to salvage what she can." "And Colby?" "According to Jennifer, he's disappeared. stopped responding to Talia's attempts to contact him. She doesn't know where he's living. I leaned back in my chair. So he's running? Looks that way. What about the baby? Talia's considering adoption. She says she can't raise a child alone while fighting criminal charges and trying to rebuild her career. I felt something twist in my chest. Not sympathy, exactly. But not satisfaction either. Just a hollow recognition that everything I'd set in motion was playing out exactly as I'd designed it to. Move forward with the expedited separation, I said. I want this finished. Understood. We'll have final papers within 2 weeks. After he hung up, I sat in my office as the sun set over Denver, watching the city lights come on one by one. Somewhere out there, Colby was alone, broke, and terrified. Talia was in a small apartment, pregnant and facing the destruction of everything she'd worked for. And I was here, in my office, preparing for the biggest presentation of my career. I should have felt victorious. Instead, I just felt tired. The city council presentation went perfectly. Ruth and I delivered a flawless demonstration of sustainable urban design. The council members asked intelligent questions. We had intelligent answers. By the end, 3 council members had already verbally committed to supporting the full funding. $28 million. 3 years of work. Validated. Afterward, Ruth and I went to a small restaurant near the office. She ordered wine. I stuck with water. You did it, she said, raising her glass. Everything you've been working toward. We did it, I corrected. This was a team effort. Still, you should be celebrating. I am. You're drinking water and looking at your phone every 30 seconds. That's not celebrating. I set the phone down. Sorry, force of habit. Expecting a call? Marcus, final separation papers should be ready tomorrow. And then what? Then it's done. Talia and I are legally separated. 60 days until final termination. I move on with my life. And your brother? I didn't answer immediately. The truth was, I hadn't heard from Colby in a week. No calls, no texts, no desperate notes left at my office. He'd vanished completely. I don't know, I said finally. And honestly, Ruth, I'm not sure I care anymore. She took a sip of wine. I've known you for 14 years, Wes. You're a good man, sometimes too good. But this thing with Colby and Talia, I've watched it change you. People change when they're betrayed. I know, but I need to ask you something, and I want an honest answer. All right. Do you feel better? Now that they're both suffering, now that everything they built is falling apart? Do you actually feel better? I looked at her. Ruth had been there through everything, the long nights working on projects, the celebration when I got promoted, the quiet support after I discovered the affair. She'd earned an honest answer. No, I said. I don't feel better, but I feel right. What they did was wrong. What's happening to them now is consequence, not punishment. There's a difference. Is there? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you systematically dismantled both of their lives. I documented facts. I reported violations. I protected my assets. Everything I did was legal and justified. Legal and justified doesn't always mean right. Then what should I have done? Forgiven them? Let Colby keep using family money to fund his delusions? Let Talia keep her job after she compromised city information? I don't know, Ruth admitted. I honestly don't know. But I do know that revenge has a cost, even when it's disguised as justice. We finished dinner in relative silence. When we parted ways in the parking lot, Ruth hugged me. I'm proud of you, she said, for the presentation, for staying professional through all of this. Just don't lose yourself in the process, okay? I won't. But as I drove home alone, I wondered if I already had. The final separation papers arrived on a Tuesday morning. Marcus hand-delivered them to my office, a thick folder containing the formal dissolution of 8 years of marriage. It's done, he said, setting the folder on my desk. She signed everything yesterday. No disputes, no negotiations, clean break. I opened the folder and scanned the documents. Asset division exactly as we'd outlined. No spousal support, no custody considerations for a child that wasn't mine. 60 days until final termination, then Talia Farrow would become Talia, whatever her maiden name was again. What about the compliance investigation? I asked. Still ongoing. The city's taking it seriously. She'll likely face disciplinary action, possibly termination. Criminal charges are less certain. Depends on whether they can prove she knew Colby was using the information for personal gain. And Colby? Marcus shook his head. Still off the grid. His apartment's been emptied. His phone's disconnected. Your parents haven't heard from him in 3 weeks. He's running. Or hiding. Either way, he's not your problem anymore. Marcus closed the folder. Sign these, file them with the court, and in 60 days you're a free man. You can move on. After he left, I sat with the folder for a long time. 8 years, reduced to signatures and legal terminology, community property, asset distribution, terms of separation. I signed the documents with a pen Talia had given me for our 5th anniversary. The irony wasn't lost on me. That evening, my mother called. "Wes," she said, her voice strained. "Have you heard from your brother?" "No, I told you I wouldn't." "It's been 3 weeks. He's not answering calls. He's not at his apartment. We don't know where he is." "He's an adult, Mom. He'll surface when he's ready. He's your brother." "He was my brother. Now he's just a man who made terrible choices." Silence on the other end. Then, "When did you become so cold?" The question landed harder than I expected. "I'm not cold. I'm just done pretending that shared lineage means I have to enable his behavior." "We're worried, Wes. Your father drives by Colby's old apartment every few days, hoping to see his car. I call hospitals to make sure he hasn't been admitted. We're terrified something's happened to him." "Then file a missing persons report." "He's not missing. He's hiding. From us. From you. From the mess he made." "Then that's his choice." "You did this to him?" The accusation hung in the air between us. "No," I said quietly. "He did this to himself. I just stopped protecting him from the consequences by destroying his life, by documenting the truth. He spent family money irresponsibly. He contributed to Talia's ethics violations. He made choices, bad ones, and now he's living with the results. You're my son, Wes, and I love you, but you've gone too far with this." "Have I? Or have I just finally stopped letting him get away with things?" She was crying now. I could hear it in her breathing. "He's broken, Wes. Completely broken, and you don't even care." "I care that he slept with my wife. I care that he was going to let me raise his child without telling me. Everything else is just consequence." "I pray you never understand what it's like," she said, "to watch someone you love destroy someone else you love and feel powerless to stop it." She hung up. I sat in the quiet house, alone, with signed separation papers on the table and my mother's words echoing in my head. The problem was, I did understand. I understood completely. And I still didn't regret what I'd done. 3 days later, my father showed up at my office unannounced. Security called up, and I told them to send him through. He looked older than I remembered. Tired. The kind of exhaustion that comes from prolonged stress and sleepless nights. "Dad," I said, standing. "What's wrong?" "We found him." My chest tightened. "Colby?" "He's been living in his car, parked in different places every night. Your mother spotted him at a rest stop off I-70. He's—" My father paused, choosing his words carefully. "He's not doing well." "Did you talk to him?" "He ran. Saw your mother's car and drove off before we could reach him, but we saw enough." "Enough of what?" "He's lost weight. Looks like he hasn't showered in days. The car's full of his belongings. Everything just thrown in randomly. He's living like a homeless person, Wes." I sat back down. "What do you want me to say?" "I want you to help him." "Why would I do that?" "Because he's your brother. Because he's family. Because no matter what he did, he doesn't deserve this. He slept with my wife, Dad. Got her pregnant. Was going to let me raise his child as mine. And you want me to help him?" "I want you to be better than your anger." My father sat across from me, his hands folded. "You've made your point. You've shown him consequences. You've protected yourself legally and financially. But this, watching him fall apart completely, that's not justice. That's cruelty." "I haven't watched anything. I've been living my life, working, moving forward. While he falls apart. That's his choice? Is it? Or is it the inevitable result of everything you set in motion?" I met my father's eyes. "You're the one who cut off his funding. You audited his accounts. You suspended his access to family resources. Because you showed me evidence I couldn't ignore. Evidence you deliberately compiled and presented, knowing exactly what I would do. So you're saying I should have kept quiet? Let him keep wasting family money?" "I'm saying there's a difference between accountability and destruction. And right now, your brother is being destroyed. By his own choices. Enabled by your actions." My father stood. "I'm not defending what he did. It was unforgivable. But you're my son too, Wes. And I'm watching you become someone I don't recognize. Someone who's so focused on being right that he's forgotten how to be human. I'm human enough to know that actions have consequences. And wise enough to know when those consequences have gone too far. I didn't answer. My father walked to the door, then paused. Your presentation went well. The council approved full funding. Congratulations. You got everything you wanted professionally. Thank you. I just hope it was worth what it cost you personally. He left. I sat in my office alone, staring at the blueprints for Riverside Eco Park. 3 years of work. $28 million. Everything I'd wanted. And somehow, it all felt empty. That night, I drove to the rest stop off I-70 where my parents had seen Colby. I didn't know why, didn't have a plan, just needed to see for myself. The parking lot was mostly empty, a few semi-trucks, a couple of RVs, and there, in the far corner, a beat-up sedan I recognized as Colby's car. I parked 3 spaces away and waited. 40 minutes later, Colby emerged from the restroom building. My father was right. He looked terrible, thin, unshaven, wearing clothes that hung loose on his frame. He moved like someone who'd forgotten what it felt like to stand up straight. He didn't see me, just walked to his car, climbed in, and sat there in the darkness. I could have driven away, should have driven away. Instead, I got out of my car and walked over to his. I knocked on the window. Colby jumped, startled. Then he saw me. His expression went through several transformations, surprise, fear, anger, shame, before settling on resignation. He rolled down the window. What do you want? His voice was hoarse, to see if what Dad said was true. Well, you've seen it. Congratulations, you won. I looked at the interior of his car. Clothes piled in the back seat, fast food wrappers on the floor, a sleeping bag wadded up on the passenger seat. This is where you've been living? What's it to you? Mom and Dad are worried. Since when do you care what they think? Since always. They're my parents. They were my parents too, until you turned them against me. I didn't turn them against you. I showed them the truth about how you were spending family money. They made their own decisions. Colby laughed. It was a bitter, broken sound. You really believe that, don't you? That you're just some innocent bystander. That none of this is your fault. None of what? This. He gestured at himself, at the car, at everything. My life falling apart. Talia leaving, the business collapsing, everything. You did those things to yourself. With a little help from my big brother, the perfect son, the responsible one, the one who never makes mistakes. I make plenty of mistakes. I just don't blame other people for them. No, you just systematically destroy anyone who crosses you. I protected myself. That's not the same thing. Isn't it? Colby leaned forward. You reported Talia's work violations. You gave Dad ammunition to cut off my funding. You probably tipped off the zoning board about my gym project. Every time I tried to stand up, you knocked me down. You knocked yourself down. I just stopped catching you. Same result. We stared at each other through the open window. Brothers who looked alike but had become strangers. Why did you do it? I asked finally. Why Talia? Colby looked away. Because she saw me, really saw me, not as the screw-up little brother or the disappointment son, just as me. You mean she enabled your delusions? I mean she made me feel like I mattered. And I didn't? You made me feel like I was constantly failing. Every time I saw you, every family gathering, every conversation, it was just a reminder of everything I wasn't. That's not fair. Fair? Colby's voice rose. You want to talk about fair? You're living in your nice house with your important job and your perfect life, and I'm sleeping in my car because you decided I needed to learn a lesson. You're sleeping in your car because you slept with my wife and spent $83,000 of family money on nightclubs and hotel rooms. I made mistakes, I admit that, but you've made it your mission to make sure I pay for them forever. No, I just stopped enabling you. There's a difference. To you, maybe. To me, it feels like being slowly destroyed by someone who's supposed to love me. I opened my mouth to respond, then closed it. Because somewhere in his words, buried under the self-pity and the deflection, was a grain of truth I didn't want to acknowledge. I do love you, I said quietly. You're my brother, but I can't forget what you did. I'm not asking you to forget. I'm asking you to let me survive. You're surviving. You're just uncomfortable. I'm broken, Wes, completely broken. And you did that? No, you did that. I just stopped fixing it. Colby rolled up the window. The conversation was over. I stood in that parking lot for a long time after he drove away, watching his taillights disappear into the darkness. And I wondered if my father was right, if I'd gone too far, if justice and revenge were really as different as I'd convinced myself they were. The 60-day separation period passed like a slow tide, each day pulling me further from the life I'd known. The final termination papers arrived on a Thursday morning. I signed them at my kitchen table, alone, with coffee that had gone cold. Marcus called an hour later. "It's official. As of today, you're legally single." "Thank you," I said. "How does it feel?" Like closing a book I'd stopped reading anyway. "That's healthy, I think." After he hung up, I sat in the quiet house and took inventory of my life. The Riverside Eco Park project had broken ground. Funding secured, timeline established, recognition from the Denver Architecture Association. Everything I'd worked for, validated. My career was thriving. My personal life was a crater. I hadn't spoken to Colby in 6 weeks. Hadn't spoken to my mother in 4. My father called occasionally, brief conversations about nothing important, both of us avoiding the subjects that mattered. Talia had taken the city's settlement offer, resignation in lieu of prosecution. She'd left Denver entirely, moved back to her hometown in Ohio. The baby was due in 4 months. I didn't know if she'd decided on adoption or if Colby had surfaced to take responsibility. I told myself I didn't care. I was lying. On Saturday afternoon, my doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone. Ruth had invited me to dinner, but that wasn't for hours. I opened the door to find my father standing there, holding a manila envelope. "Can I come in?" he asked. I stepped aside. He entered, looking around the house like he was seeing it for the first time. "You've redecorated." Talia took most of her things. I filled in the gaps. "It looks good. Empty, but good." We sat in the living room. The envelope remained unopened in his hands. "Your mother wants you to come to dinner next Sunday," he said. "The whole family. She's making her pot roast." "I'm not sure that's a good idea." "She misses you, Wes. We both do." "I haven't gone anywhere." "Haven't you?" He set the envelope on the coffee table between us. "You've been so focused on moving forward that you've left everyone behind. That's not fair. You and Mom made your own choices about Colby. Choices you influenced, with evidence you compiled, knowing exactly what we'd do with it. So I should have hidden the truth? You should have considered the consequences before you set everything in motion." "I did consider them. That's why I documented everything so carefully." My father sighed. "You're brilliant, Wes. Always have been. You see systems where other people see chaos. You understand how pieces connect. But people aren't systems. Families aren't blueprints. You can't design away the messy parts. Is that what this is about, Colby? It's about all of us. You, me, your mother, your brother. We're a family, and families are supposed to survive hard times together. Even when one member betrays another. Especially then." I stood and walked to the window. Outside, the neighborhood was quiet. Families in their homes, living their normal lives. He slept with my wife, got her pregnant, was going to let me raise his child without telling me. How am I supposed to forgive that? "I'm not asking you to forgive. I'm asking you to stop punishing." "I'm not punishing anyone. I'm just not helping him avoid consequences." There's a difference between consequences and destruction. Colby's lost everything, Wes. His money, his home, his dignity, his relationship with Talia, his connection to his family. He's living in his car because he can't afford rent. He's eating once a day because he can't afford more. He's broken. That's his own doing. Is it? Or did you engineer it? I turned from the window. "You're saying I should have let him keep using family money? Let Talia keep her job after she violated security protocols? I'm saying you should have considered what total annihilation would do to a person who was already fragile." "He wasn't fragile. He was arrogant. He was insecure. There's a difference." My father picked up the envelope. "He sent this to us. Your mother wanted you to read it." I took the envelope, but didn't open it. "What is it?" "A letter. To you, to us. An attempt at explanation, I think. Maybe an apology. Your mother read it and cried for 2 hours." "I don't want his apology." "Then what do you want?" "I want him to grow up, to take responsibility, to stop expecting other people to fix his mistakes. And if he does, if he somehow survives this and becomes the responsible person you want him to be, will that be enough? Or will you still see him as the man who betrayed you?" I didn't have an answer. My father stood. "Come to dinner next Sunday, please. Your mother needs to see you. We all need to be together, even if it's uncomfortable." "Will Colby be there?" "We don't know. He hasn't responded to invitations. But he's still our son. We have to try." After my father left, I sat with the envelope for an hour before opening it. Inside was a single page, handwritten in Colby's messy scrawl. Dear Wes, I don't expect you to read this. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just need to say things I should have said months ago. You're right about everything. I was irresponsible, selfish. I used family money for things that didn't matter. I pursued Talia knowing she was your wife. I was going to let you raise my child without telling you the truth. I convinced myself I had reasons, that I was living in your shadow, that you had everything and I had nothing, that Talia and I had something real. But those were excuses. The truth is simpler and uglier. I was jealous of your success, your stability, the way Mom and Dad talked about you, the way everyone respected you. I wanted what you had, and when I couldn't build it myself, I tried to take it from you. That was wrong. Unforgivable. I know that now. I've lost everything. The money's gone. The business is gone. Talia won't speak to me. Mom and Dad look at me like I'm a stranger, and you're doing exactly what I probably deserve, letting me fail completely. I'm not asking for help. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just wanted you to know that I understand now. Consequences are real. Actions matter. You can't coast through life expecting other people to catch you when you fall. I'm trying to figure out how to be the person I should have been all along. I don't know if I'll succeed, but I'm trying. I'm sorry for what I did to you, to your marriage, to our family. If I could undo it, I would, but I can't. All I can do is try to be better moving forward. I don't expect you to believe me. I wouldn't if I were you. I just needed you to know. Colby. I read it 3 times. Then I folded it carefully and set it on the table. The words were right. The sentiment was right. It was everything I'd wanted to hear. But I felt nothing. No forgiveness, no satisfaction, just emptiness. Sunday dinner at my parents' house. I almost didn't go. Stood in my driveway for 5 minutes, keys in hand, convincing myself I had better things to do. But I'd never been good at disappointing my mother. When I arrived, her face lit up. She hugged me tight, holding on longer than necessary. I'm so glad you came. Of course I came. I wasn't sure you would. The house smelled like pot roast and fresh bread, familiar, comforting. The dining room table was set for 4. Is Colby coming? I asked. We don't know, my father said from the kitchen. We invited him. He didn't respond. We sat down to eat at 6:30, just the 3 of us. The 4th chair remained empty, a ghost at the table. My mother made small talk. How was work? How was the house? Had I been taking care of myself? I answered on autopilot. Work was fine, the house was fine, I was fine, everything was fine. At 7:15, the doorbell rang. My mother's head snapped up. My father set down his fork. We all looked at each other. I'll get it, my father said. He returned a moment later with Colby. My brother looked better than he had at the rest stop. Still thin, still carrying himself like a beaten dog, but clean, showered, wearing clothes that fit. Sorry I'm late, he said quietly. You're here, my mother said, her voice thick with emotion. That's what matters. Colby sat in the 4th chair. Our eyes met briefly. He looked away first. We ate in uncomfortable silence for several minutes. Then my mother, unable to bear it, started talking. About the weather, about the neighbors, about anything that wasn't the massive elephant sitting at the table. Halfway through the meal, my father cleared his throat. We need to talk, he said. All of us. About what's happened, about where we go from here. Dad, I started. No, Wes, we're going to talk. This family is falling apart and we're going to fix it. You can't fix this, Colby said quietly. It's too broken. Nothing's too broken to try, my mother said. Mom, I slept with Wes's wife. I ruined his marriage. I betrayed him in every way possible. How do you fix that? By acknowledging it, my father said. By taking responsibility. By trying to be better. I did take responsibility. I wrote a letter. I apologized. What more can I do? You can stop living in your car, my mother said. You can accept the help we're offering. What help? Colby looked between them. You cut me off. You suspended my access to family resources. Because you weren't using them responsibly, my father said. But you're still our son. We're not going to watch you spiral into homelessness. So what? You're going to give me money again? Let me coast on family support until I screw up again? No, my father said firmly. We're going to help you build something real, a real job, real stability, real consequences if you fail. Colby looked at me. And what about Wes? Is he okay with this? Or is he going to document everything I do wrong and use it to destroy me again? I didn't destroy you, I said quietly. You did that yourself? By reporting my mistakes to everyone who mattered, by systematically removing every safety net I had, by documenting the truth. That's all I did. And look where it got me. It got you exactly what you earned. Stop it, my mother said. Both of you. This isn't helping. Nothing's helping, Colby said, because nothing can fix this. Wes will never forgive me. He'll spend the rest of his life making sure I pay for what I did. And you know what? He's right to do it. I deserve it. You don't deserve to suffer forever, my mother said. Why not? What I did was unforgivable. Then why are we all here? My father asked. If it's truly unforgivable, why are we sitting at this table trying to find a way forward? Silence. Because we're family, my father continued, and families forgive, even when it's hard, even when it hurts, even when it seems impossible. I set down my fork. Some things can't be forgiven. Can't? My father asked. Or won't? What's the difference? Can't means it's impossible. Won't means it's a choice, and choices can be changed. I don't want to change my choice. Then you'll spend the rest of your life carrying anger, and it will poison everything you build. I looked at Colby. He was staring at his plate, shoulders hunched, looking like he wanted to disappear. Do you have a job? I asked him. He looked up, surprised. What? A job? Do you have one? I'm working on it. That's not an answer. I'm applying places, but it's hard when you don't have a permanent address, when you smell like car camping. Are you still living in your car? Yes. Where are you parking? Different places. Rest stops, Walmart parking lots, wherever they don't chase me off. I looked at my parents. You're really going to let him live like that? We've offered help, my father said. He's refused it. Because I don't deserve it, Colby said. I don't deserve anything from this family, not after what I did. That's not your decision to make, my mother said. We're your parents. We get to decide what we offer. And I get to decide what I accept. Then you're choosing to suffer? I asked. I'm choosing to face consequences, like you wanted. I wanted you to grow up, not starve. What's the difference? Either way, I lose everything. We sat in silence for a long moment. The pot roast was getting cold. No one was eating anymore. Finally, I stood. I'm leaving, I said. Wes, my mother started. I can't do this. Not tonight. Maybe not ever. I appreciate what you're trying to do, but I can't sit here and pretend we're a normal family. We're not. We're broken, and I don't know how to fix it. I walked toward the door. Behind me, I heard Colby's voice, quiet and broken. I'm sorry, Wes, for everything. I paused with my hand on the doorknob. Didn't turn around. Just said, I know. Then I left. 3 weeks passed. I threw myself into work with an intensity that worried even Ruth. The Riverside Eco Park groundbreaking ceremony was scheduled for mid-May. Every detail needed to be perfect. I worked 14-hour days, came home exhausted, fell asleep reviewing specifications. Ruth cornered me one afternoon in my office. You're going to burn out, she said, closing the door behind her. I'm fine. You're running on fumes. What you're doing now isn't about the project. It's about avoiding your life. Nothing's going on. I'm divorced. My brother's homeless. My family's fractured. That's not ongoing. It's just done. Is it? Because you're not okay. What happened changed you, and not in a good way? I'm the same person I've always been. No. You're harder now. Colder. The Wes I knew 3 months ago wouldn't have systematically dismantled his brother's life. The Wes you knew 3 months ago hadn't been betrayed. There's a difference between protecting yourself and pursuing vengeance. I did what needed to be done. Ruth shook her head. You're lying to yourself. I've known you for 14 years, and I've never seen you deliberately hurt someone until now. I didn't hurt anyone. I just stopped protecting them from consequences. You had the power to show mercy, and you chose not to. Because they earned it. Maybe, or maybe you were just hurt and angry and wanted them to suffer. Ruth sat down. You won. Colby's broken. Talia's gone. Your family's fractured. But victories that leave you alone aren't really victories. She left. The following Saturday, I drove to the rest stop where I'd last seen Colby. His car was there in the far corner. I knocked on the window, movement inside. The window cracked open. What do you want? Colby's voice was rough. To talk. He climbed out. He looked terrible. When's the last time you ate? I asked. Yesterday, maybe the day before. Come on. We drove to a diner. I ordered coffee and eggs. Colby ordered toast and water. Order real food, I said. I can't afford it. I flagged down the waitress. He'll have the full breakfast. When the food came, Colby ate like someone starving. How long are you going to keep this up? I asked. Keep what up? Living in your car? Refusing help? As long as it takes to prove I can survive without anyone's help. You've proven that. Barely, but you're doing it. Then why are you here? Because Ruth's right. I won. You're broken. Talia's gone. Our family's fractured, and I feel nothing. Winning doesn't fix anything. Talia's having the baby in 6 weeks, Colby said quietly. She called me yesterday, first time in 2 months. What did she say? That she's putting it up for adoption. That she doesn't want me involved? You could try. With what? I have no money, no home, no job. What would I give a kid? You could accept help. From mom and dad? Get back on your feet. I tried that. It never worked. Because you always had an exit plan, safety nets. And now I don't. So what's changed? Now failure means real consequences. Maybe that's what you needed. Colby laughed bitterly. Starving in my car is good for me? You've finally hit bottom. The only way forward is up. Or I stay at bottom. You're 35. You're going to live like this forever. Why not? It's what I deserve. You screwed up. Massively. You earned every consequence. But that doesn't mean you have to stay broken forever. At some point, you decide whether to keep punishing yourself or start building something better. Easy for you to say. I have a career. That's it. My marriage is over. My relationship with my brother is destroyed. I have success and nothing else. You have respect, dignity. And you could too, if you'd stop wallowing and do the work. Colby stood abruptly. Thank you for breakfast, but I don't need life advice from the man who destroyed everything I had. I didn't destroy anything. You did that yourself. He walked out. I sat alone, finishing cold coffee, wondering if anything I'd said had made a difference. Probably not. But I'd tried. The Riverside Eco Park groundbreaking ceremony was perfect. Sunny day, dozens of stakeholders gathered to celebrate 3 years of planning. The mayor spoke about sustainable development. I gave a brief presentation. Ruth stood beside me. You did it, she whispered. We did it. I should have been elated. Instead, I just felt hollow. My parents attended. They stood at the back, proud but distant. They left before the reception. That evening, I sat in my empty house with whiskey I didn't drink. The house was immaculate. Everything in its place. No clutter, no mess, no life. My phone rang. Unknown number. Wes? My name's Emma Bradford. I'm a social worker with Denver County Human Services. I'm calling about your brother. My chest tightened. What happened? He's in Denver General. He collapsed at a day labor site. Dehydration and malnutrition. He's stable, but he gave us your name as emergency contact. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Emma Bradford met me in the waiting room. He's awake. The doctors say he'll be fine with rest and proper nutrition. How bad is it? He weighs 40 pounds less than he should. He hasn't eaten regularly in weeks. He's been living in his car. I know. He told me what happened. He says you have every right to hate him. I don't hate him. Don't you? I don't know, I admitted. He's in room 314. I found his room. Colby was in the bed, hooked up to an IV. He looked skeletal under the fluorescent lights. Why are you here? Colby asked. Because you're my brother. So? You wanted me to hit bottom. This is it. This isn't bottom. This is you giving up. Maybe I don't want to climb back up. What you did was unforgivable. I'll probably never fully forgive you, but that doesn't mean you have to destroy yourself. I'm not destroying myself. I'm just existing. You're starving yourself, refusing help. That's slow self-annihilation. And why do you care? Because consequences and permanent destruction aren't the same thing. You earned everything that's happened, but you don't have to stay here forever. What are you saying? Mom and Dad have been trying to help you. You've refused because you think you don't deserve it, but you're not punishing yourself. You're punishing them. So what do you want me to do? Accept their help, get a real job, find a real place to live, start building something real. And then what? We pretend nothing happened? No. We acknowledge what happened. We live with it. We move forward, because that's what families do. Colby closed his eyes. I'm so tired. Tired of failing. Tired of being the screw-up. Then stop being the screw-up. I don't know if I can. You can. You just have to decide to try. We sat in silence. Talia's having the baby next month, Colby said. I know. She's putting it up for adoption. That's my kid, and I'm not going to be part of its life. Is that what you want? I want to be a father, but I don't know how. By learning, by accepting help, by building stability before the baby comes. That's impossible. 6 weeks. Then you have 6 weeks to get your life together, starting now. Why are you helping me? Because you're my brother, and because destroying you doesn't rebuild what you broke. Emma knocked and entered. Visiting hours are ending. But Colby, I've been talking with your parents. They'd like to speak with you about transitional housing and employment assistance. Did you set this up? Colby asked me. No, they did. They've been trying to help you for months. I can't take their money again. It's not about money, Emma said. It's about structure, support, a path forward. Colby was quiet. Then, okay, I'll talk to them. I stood to leave. Wes, thank you. Don't thank me. Just do better. I'll try. 2 weeks later, Colby moved into transitional housing in Aurora. Small room, strict rules, but stable. My parents coordinated job interviews. Colby got hired at a commercial landscaping company. Physical labor for hourly wages, honest work. My mother called with updates. He was showing up on time, following rules, saving money. He's trying, she said. Will you come to dinner this Sunday? I went. The dinner was awkward. We tried to pretend everything was normal, but we tried. Colby looked better, healthier. His eyes were clearer. How's the job? I asked. Hard, physical, but good. I like knowing what's expected. That's important. I've been talking with Talia, Colby said, about the baby. She's due in 3 weeks. She's still planning adoption, but she wanted me to know. And do you want to be involved? My father asked. I don't know. Part of me thinks I should, but I'm barely holding my life together. You can't, I said. Not yet. Right now you're 3 weeks into recovery. Adding a baby would destroy you. But that's my child. And you're giving it a chance at a stable life. That's responsible. After dinner, Colby and I ended up on the back porch. Do you forgive me? He asked. No, not yet. Maybe not ever. What you did was too big. I understand. But I'm trying to move past it, which is different from forgiveness. Thank you for giving me a chance. Don't waste it. I won't. We stood there as the sun set, 2 brothers trying to find their way back from the wreckage. 2 months after the separation, Derek Vaughn called. Wes, I found something about Colby and the city information breach. What kind of something? Evidence that he actively solicited those documents from Talia. Asked her specifically for budget projections and contractor lists. There are texts, emails. He pressured her for insider information to pitch investors. It's fraud, criminal fraud. Send me everything. The files arrived an hour later. I reviewed them carefully. This wasn't just Talia being careless. This was Colby deliberately manipulating her for illegal advantage. It was the final piece. I compiled everything into a comprehensive file. Then I made my calls. To the city's fraud investigation unit. I have evidence of deliberate solicitation and misuse of restricted city information. To my father, cut off Colby completely. He's going to face criminal charges. The family needs to be clear of his mess. To Marcus Reeves, make sure Talia understands she can cooperate and avoid prosecution, or protect Colby and face charges alongside him. Within 2 weeks, the city pressed charges. Fraud, solicitation of restricted information, multiple counts. Colby was arrested at the day labor site. Bail set at $50,000. My parents refused to post it. Talia gave her statement, implicating him fully. He had nowhere to turn. 3 days later, Emma Bradford called. Your brother wants to speak with you. He's at the county jail. No? Mr. Farrow, he's still your brother. He stopped being my brother when he made his choices. But something in me wanted to see him one final time, to look him in the eye and make sure he understood exactly how completely he'd lost. So I went. They brought Colby to the visiting room, orange jumpsuit, hollow eyes. He looked broken. Thank you for coming, he said through the phone. I'm not here to help you. Did you do this? The fraud charges? Did you make this happen? I provided evidence of crimes you committed. Why? You'd already destroyed everything. Because you weren't learning. You were playing victim instead of accepting what you'd done. So you made sure I'd face criminal charges? I made sure you'd face the full consequences of your actions. You won, Wes. I have nothing left. You destroyed me. You destroyed yourself. I just stopped protecting you from reality. And you feel good about this? I met his eyes. Yes, I do. His face went pale. You're actually happy about this? I'm satisfied. You hurt me, betrayed me, tried to profit from it. Now you're paying for it. That's just... It's revenge. Maybe, but it's earned revenge. You took my wife, got her pregnant, mocked me, said I was destined to stay behind. I leaned forward. I'm not behind, Colby. I'm ahead. I have my career, my dignity, my self-respect, and you're in jail facing felony charges. Who's behind now? I'm sorry for everything. You're not sorry you did it. You're sorry you got caught. The trial's in 6 weeks, he said quietly. 2 to 5 years, probably. Then you'll have time to think about your choices. You're really going to let me go to prison? You're going to prison because you committed crimes. I'm just not stopping it. I stood to leave. Wes, wait, please. You can tell them I didn't know. You have influence. You could stop this. I could, but I won't. Why? Because I need nothing from you. You've given me everything: clarity, justice, closure. I hate you. You're a monster. I paused at the door. That's the difference between us. You acted out of weakness and called it passion. I acted out of strength and you call it cruelty. You took everything from me, so I took everything from you? We're even now? We'll never be even. You were my brother. Now you're just someone who taught me an important lesson. What lesson? That mercy is overrated. And sometimes the only way to win is to make sure your enemies lose completely. That evening, I sat in my office overlooking Denver. The Riverside project was moving forward perfectly. My career was thriving. Talia had lost everything. Moved back to Ohio, pregnant and alone. Colby was in jail, facing prison time. His future was gone, and I had won. Ruth knocked on my door. I heard about Colby, the arrest. He earned it. You're not conflicted about this? No, should I be? She studied me. You look like a man who just won a war. I did win a war, and it feels exactly as good as I hoped. After she left, I looked out over Denver. The city lights glowed in the darkness. I'd built something real, maintained my dignity, stood up for myself, ensured that the people who hurt me paid the full price. That wasn't wrong. That was strength. My phone buzzed, a text from my father. Your mother and I are disappointed in how you've handled this. We need time. Please don't contact us for a while. I read it and set the phone down. They'd come around eventually, and if they didn't, that was their choice. I'd spent too long being the good son, the understanding brother, the reasonable man. Being good gets you nothing. Being strong gets you everything. Colby was in jail. Talia was gone. My career was thriving. I'd won on every front.